Okay, so I'm done with the Sportsman 500 for now. Dragged it outside. Still got a bit of a mess to clean up from it. And I decided to drag this thing in here to start tinkering with it. Not too sure exactly what I'm going to do with it yet. Just had the back fender off and the seat off. The seat's dry rotted, or starting to dry rot, so I got some stuff on there to try to, bring a little bit of a flex back into it. It's kind of nice that it has aftermarket front suspension, so I might end up putting those on the Quadzilla that I'm working on. Hard to say if I'll leave them on here. He also gave me the stock ones, but they're shot, they're leaking. It came with Nerf bars, 6-pack rack, one spare front fender that's race cut. It also came with, I think, there was 2 rear fenders. I do have the other side panel for it here. Yeah, I don't know what else really to say about it, but for now, I'm not even going to try to crank it over. There's no battery in it. First thing I'm going to do is pull the spark plug, take a look at it. I'm sure the old owner probably did quite a bit of cranking on it, so I just want to look at the shape of the old spark plug. So just check out pretty much everything before I even try to start it. I'm guessing that it probably snapped the timing chain or something along that lines. I'm not too sure just yet. I did put it in gear. It did seem to push over. I just don't want to keep on forcing it. Everything looks to be nice and straight. Some kind of weird ass exhaust baffle someone made, try to give it a little bit less power. You can see someone did some pretty good catwalks at one time. That's pretty much flat. Just had this off, but I guess it just latched halfway. That's just Armor All leather or interior cleaner on it. Just try to give it a little bit more flex. I don't want to get it over my hands, so I'm trying to, I don't care, I guess. Stay. There's the parts engine that I got with it, so there's plenty of parts to keep it going. So far from what I could see, the frame is nice and straight. Doesn't look to have any spider cracks or anything yet that I can see. The front end seems to be pretty solid. So it's kind of hard to see right now everything, but so far it's looking pretty good. I'm going to start by pulling off the gas tank so I can get to the spark plug. I'm going to check that out, do a compression test. Pretty much pull off there, or check the air filter. I'll actually probably pull right off the entire front fender. It's not hard to do it. Just has those little clips, which I actually had a whole pile of them, but used them all up on Sportsman. So yes, as I go along, I'll toss up an update video. Nothing too fancy with this one because I do plan on selling it to one of my buddies. So he's pretty pissed off that I sold my Polaris Predator on him. So going to be fixing this one up for him. So that's if he can ever come up with any kind of money to pay for it. Don't know what I'll be doing with it, if I'm going to keep it stock. The way he drives, he'll probably want to get a couple hop-up parts on it. He was already talking about getting flat black rims and flat black fenders. So there's enough spare fenders that I can Rhino line or rocker guard one of them for him, whatever. Bed liner, I should say, because he wanted it black. And I actually bed lined this laptop here, which reminds me I got to turn it back on, and I couldn't even scratch that off even if I wanted to, so probably end up using that on it. Got a spare set of grips for one of my machines today, impulse buy, of course. I got to boot this up because Redneck Rickham is having his live show. Everything in that engine so far sounds pretty decent. Got it on the booster. Headlights work, wherever that switch was. The bottom ones anyway. Redneck Rickham's live chat. Not really paying too much attention to that, but I'm just going to check for spark. I'm not going to attempt to start it. I already had off this cap, and the valves are opening and closing. They're horribly out of adjustment. Just like so fucking, like the play is like 4 times what it should be on that one anyway. So the guy did say it was chattering pretty good when it was running. So yeah, that would do it. Okay, check this out. Look at that for adjustment. It's kind of hard to see how far that rear wheel's moving, but up and down, too much. How's that? So I don't know who adjusted them, but that is funnier than hell. There's no oil in it. It's right off the dipstick. That's not a good thing either. So I don't think there's no low oil shutdown on this anywhere. That could have shut them down. Well, that's neutral. Oops, should have had that in a shot there. But that's the neutral safety, which isn't working. I already checked that. It's not working. And also, the start button doesn't want to work half the time. So you can. There we go. It's nice to know that the electric starter is not burnt out, even though I got a spare one in the box there. So again, I'm just going to be checking for spark today, and that's where I'm going to end this video. If it doesn't have spark, I'm not too worried about it. This wire needs to be changed. It's so freaking loose up on top there, or at least cut down a little bit there. If it doesn't have spark, that's where I'm going to check. That's freaking horribly loose. So, okay, I'll start the video probably tomorrow when I get the spark plug out, because I want to do a compression test and everything just before I even bother looking at it more. By looking at the wear and like on the paint and everything, this thing couldn't have had too many hours on it. It's so far seems to be in pretty damn good shape from what I'm seeing. It's not too bad. Had zip ties holding on the front fenders on one side. So to get to the spark plug, I didn't have to remove the entire top here, but I know to get my compression tester into there, because it's a long shaft style, I'd have to remove everything, so it's not too big of a deal. Okay, so the seat looks like it's ready to be cleaned up now. It's that armor all looks like it's soaked in pretty damn good, so sweet. Okay, so I found my spark plug wrench. It takes a very, very long 18 mil. So I got not a new plug, but I looked at that plug. It was covered in oil. So if this thing does start, it's going to be an oil burner. I know he had problems with it burning oil before. You can actually see the tip of the exhaust pipe there is covered in oil. So that was the first sign that told me it burns oil. He had that problem before, he says, and he had it fixed. So I guess it came back, whatever it was, or they never fixed it proper. By the looks of it, that cylinder was never on this machine. Probably that one over there. It's so much dirtier inside the fins than everything else. You can kind of see what I mean if you can see it on this shitty camera. So you can see the cleanness in the fins versus the dirtiness. It's either that or they never washed it. Or parts washed it. So you can actually see that it is leaking in between. So no matter what, I'm going to pull this engine apart. So I got that spark plug back in. The threads all seem to be good. As for the spark plug wire, I'm just going to trim it down, shove it back on. I did have another piece of NGK racing cable shit, but it's not quite long enough, I don't think. So I'll have to line it up and see. It is about 2 inches shorter than what the other stuff is. I already know there's good spark from the coil. I already tested that. So when I get the spark plug wire and the boot back on, I'll give it a quick crank. I know there's almost virtually no oil in the machine too, which also makes sense why it's covered in oil in the cylinder. So it's probably going to be like the BW200 when I picked it up, where it needs head work and piston rings, which is not too big of a deal. So I am actually looking forward to pulling this one apart. So it's no fun if they just run. I'm going to be pulling off the top end. I found out why the parts motor blew. Don't really have much light. I got the lights turned off. You can see the oil passage there just plugged with freaking silicone. One of the valves you could see was the valve seals like completely toast on it. So I'll get more into that on the videos later. I was just taking a quick look at it. Cylinder on this one here is covered, like filled with oil, so I'm sure it's going to need same thing the BW needed, rings and valve seals. So, and even if it doesn't, I never really played with it too much. You can see that it is leaking pretty much everywhere, so that top end's coming off. So I'm actually don't mind that, you know, kind of fun. But the whole point of this video is I want to do a cold start on this machine. Just gotta close this door here first. Just wear my Crockers. Now that I got the new exhaust and the air intake done and the jets. So it's only about -5 outside. It's not that bad. To use the choke or not to use the choke? I'll use the choke. That wasn't that bad. Got piss piles everywhere, that's kind of sick. Running a little bit rich, but it's not that bad. Well, that didn't start up that bad. I'm going to let that idle for a while. Go back in here for a bit. Well, actually, before I do that, this is some of the spare parts that I got with the 400. Some Nerf bars, rack, fenders. So that kind of made it worthwhile. Just gonna let that run for a while outside. Don't really know what else to say because I'm just going to be pulling the top end off it now. It does turn over pretty good. Compression wise, I can't actually find my compression gauge, so it's somewhere in this shit mess. So other than that, everything seems to be good. I don't know what else really to say about it. I just got to talk to my buddy, which is going to be the one buying this off of me when I'm done. I got to talk to him. He might even be interested in going to a 440 kit on it. To do the entire engine into a 440, I'd go 1+ on the front on the valves, the cylinder, the piston, jets, gasket set, probably everything probably end up being about $500. Or if I do it stock, like a brand new bore, everything, I'd probably be looking at about $350 to $400. So it's not much more to go the 440 kit. So just because of the cost of getting the cylinder board out and everything like that, versus re-sleeved. So anyway, that's where I'm going to leave this for now. I guess might as well go outside and to see how this thing's running. Sounding pretty good. Yep. Running a little bit rich now, but that's with the choke on. There, that sounds a little bit better. Oh. I got to turn up the idle. So I just put it back together the other day, so idle's a little bit low. It is cold too, so. But whatever. Now I got to charge up the battery again for a few seconds more. I'm not gonna make any more videos on the Sportsman 500. Basically, now it's just jetting, so I got to see if I need to change the jets or anything. It is running a little bit rich right now, but I'd rather have it a bit rich than lean. It is winter too, so in the summer I'll probably have to change the jets, but for temporary, I'm just going to leave it the way it is, give it a shit kick, give it a try. Yes, I do got a fairly bad cold right now, so that's why I haven't been looking at it or working on it lately. That's all the parts engine. I just took a quick look at it. Decided just to tear off this top end just while I'm feeling a little bit better, but I can still barely stand without getting extremely dizzy. That's how bad the cold is. It's a horrible one. So back onto my chair I go. Going to spend another maybe 20 minutes on it just to pull off the cylinder, or at least the head. I might not even pull off the cylinder yet. I'll do that some other day. So I just want to get the head off for now just to check the shape of it. And that's pretty much it. Okay.
Well, good thing I didn't really try to start it. I did turn it over for a few seconds, but check this out. This is the way it was when I just pulled off the top end, and that piston is just freaking blowing apart. These rings were just getting jammed, I guess, in between it. So now with all those chunks of the piston being in the bottom end here, get a better shot of the skirt there, hey? Look at that, the skirt is just blown apart on this piston. Like, look at those rings, man. Holy shit. Well, the guy did say that he had 10 hours of use on this piston, which I guess that kind of looks like 10 hours. And then it violently stalled on him at the end of his driveway. So yeah, I guess that kind of looks right. I don't see any chunks of the piston in the compression tester, which showed me that it had virtually no compression. Technically, the first two rings were still being used. The first two rings, it's just the oil ring was completely destroyed. So those are chunks of the oil groove ring. And yeah, that's pretty good. So I guess I'll be splitting the cases on this engine. Or, before I do that, I might be looking at this engine here. So between the two of them, I'll for sure be able to make a good motor. Just thought I'd kind of post this little bit of an update. But yeah, that is a pretty destroyed piston. So, yep. And this was a short, little stubby, like a shorter piston than what was on that other engine. The other one looked like it actually was a bit longer. Maybe it wasn't, I don't know. But anyway, the whole engine's coming out now. That's where I'm going to leave this for now. That skirt just freaking exploded on this thing. Yeah, you can see. Yeah, you can see here that I'm dripping oil everywhere. That the whole skirt exploded on this thing. So that is just horrible. So kablooey. That is bad. So get a little bit more of a shot of that. So I didn't really want to have to pull apart the bottom end on it, but it's not too big of a deal. It's fairly quick. I have done enough of them. Not on this exact machine, but on other machines I have done quite a few of them. So just hopefully the skirts did not destroy too much in the bottom end. I'm expecting to have to change quite a bit. But the bottom end on that other motor I'm sure is going to be in better shape. So between the two of them I know I'll be able to make something decent. Sweet.